Hey people, this is the Rubin Report. I'm Dave Rubin, and two quick announcements before we start. First off, we are here at YouTube Space in Playa Vista. Playa del Rey, I think?
Playa del Rey.
Playa del Rey, not Playa Vista. It's on the border of Playa...
Vista.
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 Jesus. All right, the point is, we're at YouTube Space temporarily while TYT is building out their second studio. And I'm very excited because, you know, Jon Stewart announced that he was retiring last week from The Daily Show. And they came out with all these lists, these top 10 lists of who's going to replace Jon Stewart. And I have number 11, Jimmy Dore, number 12, Ben Mankiewicz, number 13, Dave Rubin. So let's do it. Here we go. All right, ISIS, the latest ISIS update. Yeah, all the beheadings, the burnings, all that stuff continues. But I actually found something that was actually kind of positive related to ISIS, if that's actually possible. This grandmother, this elderly woman on the streets of Syria who started verbally assaulting some ISIS members, and it's really a thing of beauty. Let's take a look.
بس نذبحناه بالعام ولا لا؟ لا تذبحوا هذا ولا هذا
اللي ذبحوا اولاد ضده.
بدنا نفصل
والإرهابي هذا كلهم قتلهم
ما الصورتين
والكردي هذا اللي
ما الصورتين بدنا مشان نحط شهادة
كله حرام حرام
حبيب قلبي والله اجلنا طلع اليوم على الشيخ مشان الشغله هاي الدنيا برد
ما بتقدروا شيء لا انتم
شلون
ولا
نسوي؟
بشار كله خرا عن خرا لا انتم ولا هو
حجة ما احناش فاضيين توكل على الله حجة توكل على
لا
الله
انتم ولا هو ما في مسؤول لا لكم ولا إله بتضلوا تقتلوا بعضكم مثل الحمير مثل الدبش مثل الغنم ارجعوا لله ارجعوا يا دد في 50 مرة هون متجوزات شيعيات يعني مثل اللي بتجوز الدبة وبرفع لها بالعودة ارجعوا إلى الله ارجعوا إلى الله ارجعوا إلى الله ارجعوا إلى الله خافوا من الله ما بدكم هالذبح ولا بدكم هالقتل
جيناكم بذبح.
All right, so this woman is absolutely fantastic. These guys are beheading people, they're shooting people in the street, they're burning people alive, and she is probably 80 years old and fearless. This is beautiful.
All right, two things I thought when I saw this video. One, now I know why I can't reach my mother. She's in Syria. At least she's yelling at someone else.
Yeah.
And she's not 80. That woman is easily 180.
She might have been 110.
Yeah.
Well, it's very stressful there, so maybe that's aged her a little bit more. But really, this is an amazing thing, right?
No, I mean, once I know how that soldier probably feels. One time I had Jimmy Durante yelled at me. And it was really unsettling.
Yeah.
And I gave him a kiss to build a dream on.
I see what you did there. How do we empower these people? Because every video that we see about ISIS is this horrible stuff. And we're going to do a segment in a second on whether we should even be showing those videos or whatever. But this thing, to me, was inspiring. I watched this and I was like, oh, there are people there that have the balls. Now, she's at the later years, so maybe she's a little willing to take some more risks than, you know, a 16-year-old.
Like she's going to throw her life away.
Exactly. But really, like, she's got some, like, this is the thing that should have went seriously viral,
Yeah,
I think.
I guess I'm dubious of the authenticity of this video, as I am about many of these videos, because I don't understand who shot it.
Right.
I'm confused by where the camera is and
Right. It appears that it was an ISIS guy
in the car. So either maybe those guys weren't ISIS. I don't know. You know, we don't know. We don't know. This is the problem, and there's really essentially no way to authenticate. Also, like, I mean, it's good. It's great. Yes, she's taking a stand. She doesn't. There's talk in there about the Kurdish guy who they had killed, and she's saying, why did you kill him? Don't kill anybody. Yeah. So it's good. If you read any of the stories, I think a piece in the Atlantic. I might be wrong, and then another piece over the weekend that they believe in the end times. So they don't care. Like that, there was a nice explanation, and there's a couple books coming out by some serious people, not crazy Fox people, about who these guys are and why they. And if they believe that, well, then at least it makes some sense as to how these incredibly barbaric acts could actually be being perpetrated.
Well, these are actually Sunnis, right? So in Syria, we have the same problem because the Sunnis are being, like, I don't know, in a sense, disenfranchised from their own land, right? So we went in, fucked up Iraq. We screwed over the Sunnis, so now they don't have. So all those people who we kicked out of Saddam's army are now, used to be called Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Yeah. Now they're called ISIS, right? So these are all Baathists, former trained by Saddam, which means they're trained by the Russians, which means, so that's who these people are, and they're Sunnis, and this problem isn't going away. You can't bomb our way out of this problem, and so that woman's right in that sense. But I don't think if that woman would have walked up to George Washington in 1790, whatever, or 74, and said, stop fucking killing the British, that we would have stopped killing the British. When you're in a war, you usually believe in it.
Yeah, and by the way, to talk about how crazy the alliances are and all that, I saw this week that we're now going to let some of the rebels in Syria call airstrikes with our Air Force to bomb Assad. So we're basically the rebels' air force now. So it's all just this big freaking mess. So last thought on this: do you want to get to that point in life where you just don't give a fuck? That's what I kept thinking about that woman.
Yeah,
like
that's nice,
she's
yeah.
at that place where if
my mother, to bring her back to it, she
Yeah.
got there, I think, at age 35. Yeah, she's been doing it for about 55 years.
But really, don't you want to get to that place where you just don't care, so that these people could literally be doing the worst things imaginable, and she has more balls than anyone we know?
From 1999 until the middle of 2000, I was that woman. I did not care. I was super depressed. I was in a major depression, and I used to get on planes going, "I dare you to fall. I dare you to crash. Go ahead. I don't give a fuck. You do me a favor." So yeah, I know exactly how that.
And then what
feels.
happened?
Yeah.
Then I started taking Zoloft. I feel okay.
All right, there you go. All right, let's move on with ISIS. So you guys probably saw at least the images, perhaps the video of the 21 Coptic Christians that they beheaded on the beach. It was, I think, in Libya.
It was
pretty, in Libya. Yeah, it was pretty awful. So I don't want to get too into the minutia of that. But what I think is interesting about this is this debate that we're starting to have a little bit about the propaganda. Should we be showing these videos? Should we be talking about them? Are we just aiding in their propaganda? Are we making them more easily? Here's some of the images you can see right here. I mean, they just beheaded 21 of these people at the same time. And then there were images of bloody water. It was pretty terrible. But basically, you know, are we aiding in their propaganda when we talk about this stuff? Are we somehow strengthening them?
Yes.
We've talked about it a little bit before. What do you think?
Yes. Even what we're doing right now is strengthening. No, it's true. Certainly what Fox News did. You know, at least if we're commenting on it, we're not forwarding their propaganda in a sense. But what Fox News did when they showed that unedited 22-minute video that they put out, that you are now providing a platform for their propaganda.
Yeah.
You are
So you're not talking about this one. You're talking about the Jordanian pilot.
I'm talking about the Jordanian pilot.
Yeah.
But this is but you know, when Chris Matthews goes on MSNBC and he's like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? We got to come together and fight this people." That's exactly what ISIS wants us to do. They want us to overreach. Again, this is not our problem. This is a thousands-year-old problem between Sunnis and Shias that we shouldn't be getting in the middle of, and we can't bomb our way out of this.
Yeah, but should we feel a little guilty because we are the ones, as you alluded to in the last segment, that started the wrong Iraq war and thus left this crazy
Yes, I do.
vacuum?
I do. I think I don't think it's easy, and I think if there's a way to get these, there's an opportunity, always an opportunity when there's guys this crazy. Because, by the way, I watched that video. I found it. I watched it. A couple things happened when I watched it because I wanted to see. I don't know. I was a journalist. If I'd been working, of course I would have seen it, and I thought I should see it. Yeah. It's incredibly hard to watch. I'm incredibly struck by the composure of the victims in this. So I don't know what's happening there because there are edits made. So, but that said, it depresses you. It can ruin your entire day to watch one of these videos. I don't know that we're furthering their propaganda because one thing that is happening is that as these guys keep doing things like this, they're making enemies of our enemies. Yeah. And in that is an opportunity that maybe there's some evidence, as you mentioned, with the arming the Syrian, was that in this segment or the last segment?
It's a lot of ISIS.
That we are willing to have Syrian anti-Assad rebels orchestrate our airstrikes. That this has opened up opportunities with Iran. That this is so the Muslim world, even some jihadists are together in that. Hey, maybe stop cutting people's heads off. Yeah. Maybe stop executing women in the street. That was Al Qaeda, that video, and that made ISIS angry. So there are opportunities here. I don't know what you shouldn't air their whole video. I get that, but I don't know that talking about it is the wrong thing to do. They want us to come. They want the end times, and they are saying, hey, come get us. Come put American boots on the ground. They want it. They want it bad. They do want it bad.
So do you see that distinction, though, between talking about it and showing the stuff? Because that's the part. So there was the video of the woman being shot, that they literally just shot another elderly woman in the street. That was in Syria. And all these people were cheering and blah, blah, blah. Now, I tweeted the link because to me, it's like we need to understand some of this. Like if this was World War II, I think if people had maybe seen more images of concentration camps or something, maybe we would have done more. Now, again, I'm not saying we should do anything. I was against the Iraq War a year ago. But to me, seeing it doesn't necessarily mean we have to do something, but we can at least have a debate about it, which I don't think we're really doing.
No, I think it's good in a sense if we talk about it in the right way, meaning we don't let these videos make us thirsty for blood.
Yeah.
Don't let those videos make us want to ramp up our war. And by the way, that woman who got shot in the street in Syria, she was talking loud on a cell phone in an elevator. I mean, at some point you have to draw a line, and I'm glad that finally they are in Syria.
Yeah. How powerful do you think ISIS really is? Because that's the other part related to the propaganda thing. Yeah, we see these horrible things. I didn't watch the 21 people get beheaded, but we see all this stuff. And then part of me is to your point, like, I don't want to overstate how much power they actually have. They don't have an air force. You know what I mean? Like,
We've killed 6,000 of them. We were told in the beginning there was 20 to 50,000 of them. Killing 6,000, if there's 20,000, you made a big difference. So I'm for. Look, I would be for finishing them off quickly if I thought that would work.
Yeah.
You know, we just know that we don't seem capable of that. We don't seem capable. This isn't Grenada. We can't go in, spend 72 hours there and leave and high-five each other and say, look, Reagan just won a war. Let me tell you something else that happened that I meant to mention very quickly when I looked up that video. I was really worried about looking up that video, and I thought people were going to know I looked up this video.
I thought the same exact thing.
That was the first time that I thought the NSA is, that's a crazy thing to think about, that the government is watching me look at this video, and will they think that I like this video, that I want, and then I thought, so I should just stop. But I mean, I don't think anybody's really looking, but it was chilling. It was chilling. It affected, I'm in my own office, in my home, afraid of what I'm looking up on the computer.
Yeah.
That was a weird thing to feel.
Well, to that point, we did a story last week that something like 63% of reporters in the United States think that the government's spying on them. So
That's a big number.
That's
Wow.
a pretty high number.
That's almost half.
You might be right. So I thought this story went bizarrely underreported because everything related to Apple gets extremely overreported. But the Wall Street Journal reported this week that they've got hundreds of people working on an electric car. That's right. We've got some more info for you. The car project is nicknamed Titan. Apple has a team of several hundred people working on a minivan-style car that could incorporate Apple's array of technological products. If the vehicle moves forward, it would put Apple in competition with the other electric car makers, including Tesla and General Motors. All right, we know that Apple has a shit ton of money. How much money do they have? They're valued at over $700 billion, and they posted $18 billion in quarterly profits. They pretty much run everything, and more efficiently, certainly, than our government. But the first thing, when I heard about this, the first thing that I thought was, oh man, like, I'm big on Tesla. I like the idea of it. I like seeing them pop up. And they're going to kill Tesla, aren't they?
By the way, the $700 billion is a metric shit ton of money. Okay, that's a lot of money.
That is in my notes here. Yeah, metric shit ton. Like that, originally I felt bad. Like Tesla's doing it, and now Apple's just going to come in and.
I don't know if they'll be able to beat. I don't know. Do you?
They got a big head start.
Yeah.
And Tesla already has a brand name out there that people like. I don't know that people are going to want to. Cars are. Your phone is instinctively. This is me talking marketing, so ignore everything.
Okay.
But your phone is supposed to be geeky.
Yes.
You acknowledge that it's geeky right from the start. It's the way cool people are like, oh, this is my tech thing, right? Cars aren't geeky. Cars are cool. They're designing a minivan. Teslas are cool. I don't think Tesla is threatened by an Apple minivan.
So the minivan part of it I do think is weird, but generally Apple stuff isn't thought of as geeky, it's thought of as cool, right? But the minivan part I hear.
It's still geeky. It's cool geeky, but your car is not cool geeky. A car is cool, and the guys who drive Teslas care about cars. Though I know that what I read, you didn't have this up there, but if you spin out and go sideways, you get your window and landscape view on the new Apple car.
You see what he did there, Jimmy?
That
was a technological joke.
An Apple minivan.
Yeah.
That's what they're building, the minivan?
Yeah, the minivan. I don't know why they're starting with the minivan. I guess that seems a little bizarre.
You know what? Actually, I was once given a minivan at a rental because they were out of whatever.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, and it's much, first of all, it's much easier for kidnappings.
Jimmy Dore driving around a minivan is a scary.
This is true happened. It was the first time I was ever recognized. I had my first half-hour special that just aired.
Yeah.
And I was in Virginia Beach, and I go to get the rental car, and the woman recognized me from my special. And she goes, "You can have any car you want." And I go, "Thanks. I'll take the minivan."
Wow. Pulling the star card.
I like the minivan.
Do you guys think, to me it seems like the good part of this, even though I don't want to see Tesla go down, is that if the electric car is ever going to really happen in America, it's going to be Apple, right? Like it's going to be Apple or Google. right?
I
It's
don't
not
know,
going to be GM, right?
Why
That
not Tesla?
Well, because it's coming with Tesla and it is getting cheaper. But like if someone's going to really do
Well, I
it.
think GM could do it. I mean, GM's a big
They did
company, and if
Volts.
they fail,
Well, they
bail
have the
them
Volt,
out.
but
They have the Volt.
You're right.
They did it.
Yeah, they did it. So I mean, but if it's gonna,
But I mean, I'm talking
your
about
point,
really mass
if it's going to
marketed.
make a major dent, if 40% of people are going to be driving
Yeah.
electric cars, if we're going to actually reduce our carbon footprint, yeah, big companies are presumably going to get involved in this. But there's room, if there's room for a zillion, whatever the other kind of car is. What's the normal kind of car?
a
Gas-powered?
gas-powered
Gas
vehicle,
powered,
yes.
I don't know.
Diesel, I don't
Internal
know what-
combustion.
Internal. That's what I was looking for. If the internal combustion car can have 35 companies making them, I imagine that
Yeah.
Apple's not going to make the only electric car that people buy.
Yeah, Jimmy, as my war correspondent, the war people are going to be upset about this, right? Because the war people want us to be in the Middle East for oil,
This
and
is
if we're
correct.
less dependent on oil, so
Right.
they can't be happy, right?
They're not. No, they want the march for oil to continue for sure.
So it'll continue one way or another, right?
I think certainly it will continue.
Although I like the idea that that Apple's them getting involved in electric cars, it doesn't seem like a downside to me.
Yeah,
don't-
I know it's all good. I just suddenly, I drove in one Tesla. I took one test ride with a friend.
I love it.
And it was so cool, and it's all digital and all that. So
It's
I want them
great.
to hang on. Last thought on this, how do you guys feel about Apple in general? Because every time we do a story on Apple, people go crazy because they either got the total fanboys or the droid people and everything else that just hate them and they think that we're all drinking the Kool-Aid. and
I
all
was
that.
a total fanboy for a while, but now that Steve Jobs is gone, I am not. And I think the iPhone is not on the cutting edge anymore as it used to be. The Androids have a lot more features, and then it seems like the iPhone's starting to catch up for shit, which I don't like that feeling. I want to be the guy. I want to be with Apple because they're on the forefront. But and then so that's how I feel about Apple. They keep fucking up their programs, like they did with iMovie, they did with Final Cut. They make it shittier for I don't know why they do that, but anyway.
Well, because then the next one's supposed to be better, then they go back to shitty. It's like an endless cycle.
I was
You have
good-
the giant iPhone,
I
so
have
you
the
have to give us the
iPhone
final.
6 Plus Plus.
Yeah.
They screwed up GarageBand. I had to disband my band. Yeah, like we're not touring anymore because that program.
It wasn't
was out.
drugs and women, it was-
By the way, nobody knows how to use the Android operating system. Nobody in the world. So
Okay.
There you go. All right, let's move on. Scientists are predicting something pretty awful, a massive mega drought coming to the United States, probably around 2050. So first, we've got a quote from the author of the study on this. Natural droughts like the 1930s Dust Bowl and the current drought in the Southwest have historically lasted maybe a decade or a little less. What these results are saying is we're going to get a drought similar to those events, but it's probably going to last at least 30 to 35 years. Now we've got a time lapse of what they're saying that this drought is going to look like. It's pretty wild.
and as you watch, brown is bad.
Brown is bad. Here we go.
Scientists looked at two different possibilities. First, a business-as-usual scenario where worldwide greenhouse gas emissions continue on their current course. In this case, the future risk of lengthy droughts rises to 80%. Alternatively, if the world were to take aggressive actions to reduce emissions, the models still show drying, but the trends will be less severe.
Okay, so just to clarify what you saw there, the first time lapse was what they're predicting, and then the second time lapse is what they're saying if we actually make a change. Now, no, we're not huge on science in this country, as you guys know if you watched last week. Ted Cruz is in charge of NASA now, which is a scary proposition. It doesn't believe in global warming, by the way. and
NASA,
he's
by
in
the way.
charge of NASA.
But NASA, I mean, the National Association of Scamming Americans. Am I right?
When you see that shit, that kind of stuff. Now, I know we're all science people. We believe in climate change and all that. I'm not a scientist, but scientists give me information, and then I accept it. That's scary stuff when you see that, right?
Yes. Why can't they come up with a thing that cool? If we can warm the planet, why can't we come up with something that cools the planet? Why can't we
Jimmy,
have?
every time it snows, Rush Limbaugh says, see?
No, I
See?
mean, there's got to be a way to make the climate more frigid. I mean, can it date some of my old girlfriends? Come on, am I right? Am I right?
We needed a rim shot there.
And no, but they actually do have a thing where they would fly out of planes. They do like a chemtrail thing.
Yeah.
And there's a thing that they can launch into the atmosphere that would actually cool. They don't know what the effects. There's all side effects. They don't know. So they actually do know how to cool.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you can walk into any office building in Phoenix in August, and it's totally pleasant. Like we have figured this out in some way, right?
Did you guys see Interstellar by any chance?
No.
Did you see Interstellar?
Yeah, I saw it.
So Interstellar, I mean, this is basically what the premise was, that we become this giant dust bowl, then we can't produce food anymore, and then we have to go to other planets to figure out how we can continue.
Well, was that the Tom Cruise movie?
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh.
Well-
And Jessica Chastain, right?
Was she in that thing?
Yeah.
She was in that thing too?
Well, where is it going to be raining? It's going to be raining somewhere, right? Isn't it? I thought when the Earth heats up, that means there's more energy in the atmosphere, which means there's going to be more weather events. So I'm confused. Why is it going to be droughty here?
It'd be droughty here. We're talking about the United States.
But
this is NASA.
Right.
That's
be
our agency. It'll rain somewhere else.
It'll rain somewhere else. Wouldn't it be shitty if it just rained just off the coast?
Right.
5 feet.
Yeah, that would be pretty shitty.
But what's clear about what's interesting about that, and the important part is that first of all, by that thing ended in 2095. So in some ways, who gives a shit?
Yeah, right.
Right. But
And your children and your children's
Oh,
children.
right, I have a daughter. I
Yeah.
forgot. Is that we can do something about it. I mean, we can. It's not just us. That was a point of if all sort of if all the industrialized countries made sort of thoughtful, principled, smart steps to retard climate change, to retard the warming and fight climate change, then you get the second scenario, which is okay.
Yeah.
Which is okay. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's survivable.
So when I was reading this, I kept thinking about one of my favorite George Carlin bits where he says, people, this is from years ago, before everyone was talking about climate change the way we talk about it now. This is like 15 years ago. Him talking about how the Earth's been through cooling and warming
Yes.
and meteors have hit and all this stuff. And you know what? The Earth is always going to be here. And it's egotistical of us to think that it's all about us. But I guess we're self-interested, aren't we? I mean, we want to survive.
The planet will always be here. It doesn't matter what we put in the oceans, whatever. We're the ones. We're screwing up the atmosphere that has developed that would sustain our life.
Right.
But so we're going to screw up that atmosphere, but Earth is going to be here forever.
So is that the flaw of the climate change people, that they're not focusing enough on they keep making the Earth is changing, but we need to go, this is about us.
Yeah.
Then it would get people more excited, right?
I don't think so, because the reason why people aren't accepting the science of climate change is because they're being manipulated by propaganda funded by oil giants, right? So that's what this is about.
Yeah. So is the only thing, last thought, is the only thing that's going to ever change the way we discuss this stuff is that when we actually have a food scarcity, like when eventually it gets so hot that our corn, because it's going to be about corn, our corn won't grow, and then that pretty much, that to me seems like the wake-up call. When Americans can't get food the way they get it now, that might be the thing.
I sort of see it as the way it'll get fallout is when the people like the Koch brothers, who are just pure evil and funding evil, and when you talk about this, that's they're guys like them and those guys themselves are what's funding this propaganda campaign. When they recognize a way to make money out of doing the right thing, and when there's a way for them to make money, when they see sort of green strategies as a way to get rich, then maybe we'll do something, or something hideous happens to people they care about, because with so many conservatives, it only affects you when
It's only real if it affects you.
it's only when your kid is gay. Oh, then maybe gay marriage
they're-
is okay.
Yeah. We talk about this digital madness that we live in all the time. We never stop looking at our phones. The second I shut off my phone, I go to my iPad. The second I shut that thing, I open up my computer. And then I'm watching a screen on TV and all that. But Facebook has now come out with something that's even going to take us deeper into this rabbit hole. They are announcing that you can have a legacy contact to control your Facebook page after you die. That's right. So basically, remembering April Myers. So this is what April Myers' page looked like before she died, and then someone else can take control of it. So there's a lot of interesting things I think this brings up. And then here you see, so you'll be able to pick somebody to do it. They can either respond to people, they can post things, they can update your profile picture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we've got some info real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
The legacy contact can download an archive of the person's photos, posts, and private information, but will not be able to see their private messages. That was profile information. Legacy contacts still can't delete embarrassing photos, edit posts that the deceased wrote, or delete the account entirely. This is because being able to curate the person's page might add an extra emotional load to grieving. So real quick, I had a friend, a good friend, younger than me, who died out of nowhere in a car accident. And over the course of the couple days after he died, that was one of the major things that everybody was talking about. How to get his password for his Facebook page, even just to let people know that he died, then who is going to manage it, all this. So there is some need for this, as kind of creepy as it sounds, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. It doesn't seem like a real thing. I mean, it seems like a real thing people could do. It doesn't seem like a thing Facebook needs to get involved in. I guess, though, having a, it's like an emergency contact, but it's like a serious emergency.
The biggest emergency.
The biggest emergency there is. That graphic you had before the last one it just made me think of my dad who died. But like it reminded me, my dad died in October, but one thing that he was insistent about, we didn't know he was dying, but he was, he hated the term pass away. Like nobody passes away. You die. You're dead.
Yeah.
So that little sort of nuance of language was we should probably avoid. But I mean, I guess it's good. People seem to be doing it anyway. You see a lot of, when somebody famous dies and you check and I'll read they were on Twitter just the day before, and I'll check their Twitter account and still there.
Yeah.
And I guess this is something that Twitter would be different, I suppose, but Twitter might want to do that as well.
Right, so I know that Melissa Rivers, for example, didn't have Joan Rivers' password, so for months they couldn't get in. I don't know what happened, that Twitter wasn't helping them. Then somehow they finally got in. Now she's kind of promoting her own stuff, which seems a little exactly how they lived, I suppose.
Yeah, right, yeah, I mean, they lived publicly, and everybody gets to make their own. Every family gets to make their own decision. And I don't know Joan Rivers personally, but don't you suspect that Joan would have said, Melissa, if you can promote your own stuff from my Twitter page after I'm gone, go.
It's actually the greatest honor of her legacy.
Right, yeah.
Jimmy, what do you make of this thing?
I just want to know what happened to April. Why did she die? She was so young. She was so young. She had her whole life ahead of her.
I don't think you should make jokes. I think you should be looking at, you should be worrying about what Facebook, if you could appoint a legacy contact for when your career dies.
Boom!
Hey, there you go. We should actually stop the recording and do that right now. I'll be yours.
I'll get Arsenio Hall's guy.
So the perverse part of this does seem to me that we can't stop with all this technology stuff, right? We keep talking about it. We know people are spying on us, all this other stuff, and yet now we're even worried about after death. What does that say about humans? Like, we never want to let go of what we got here, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't give a shit about what happened to my Facebook page after I die.
Yeah, you just don't care.
Just could not care less. I don't think I'm going to care about anything when I'm dead.
But what about, don't you want the Jimmy Dore fans to be?
I don't give a fuck. I'm dead.
Yeah.
I don't give a what my fans do, my leg. It's all bullshit. That's all ego while you're alive. When you're dead, you don't have an ego anymore. You just have a soul, so you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Jimmy Dore believes in souls. I can't believe it. What do you think? Are you going to have a legacy contact when you're dead and you want to keep your Facebook page going? Let us know in the comments right down below. Researchers at Yale University did a cognitive study on 300 dogs, and they found out that almost in all circumstances, dogs pretty much act like humans. So it's a huge, huge study, which I don't want to get into all of it, but there is a link right down below if you want to see the exact study and what they did. And there's also a local news story that'll kind of sum it up for you. What happened?
Jimmy stole my pen.
Jimmy stole your pen, just like a dog would steal a bone. Yeah, I like that. You acted it out a little bit. So it's really interesting. It doesn't surprise me. We're all dog owners. It doesn't surprise me that dogs behave the way people behave. Does it shock you? Brownie acts just like Jimmy Dore, doesn't he?
Well, the problem is, like, I resisted getting a Kindle for so long, and I got one, and now my dog has it all the time. He loves it.
What's he reading?
He's reading A Dog's Life, and mostly a lot of porn.
Yeah.
But
dogs don't have great attention spans either, which I think you're proving is.
I think that dogs have human emotion. That's what that study's saying. That dogs
basically react to things. So they did a bunch of things where they would hide things, and they found out that dogs would go about finding things the same way humans would, use the same senses.
Dogs didn't like it when they're human, which I hate. First of all, this is a Yale study, so all those dogs think they're smarter than all the others.
Yeah, these are some uppity dogs.
But if I read it correctly, was that you'd be reading a book, and then you'd put the book down. Your dog would see you put the book down, and then another person would come in and take the book, and the dogs didn't like that your book was taken. So
really?
So the dog would get defensive and then would be barking at people and things like that. I mean, look, a lot of this I think is inherent. It's just
look, I've said this
evolution
before.
with dogs, right?
Let's clear something up though. I have 3 dogs.
Yeah.
I sort of now feel like I'll always have 3 dogs, and this is just true. It's painful for people to hear. take the dumbest person you've ever met in your entire life.
Yeah.
And they are smarter than the smartest dog.
This is
you've ever
not
met.
true.
It's 100% true.
That is not.
It is 100%.
Are we all
true.
thinking of the same person?
That is not.
So one person just popped into my mind.
I know lots of
but I think
people who are dumber than dogs.
Nope,
And you know, a dog. You're talking like a mentally handicapped person. A dog is dumber than a mentally handicapped.
I think you were going on the main spectrum.
Yeah, I'm not singling any type of person out. I wasn't trying to.
But you're saying a dumb person.
I'm saying
just
a
a
person,
regular
just a
dumb
regular working
No,
dumb person.
see, like a dolphin or a whale or a dog, maybe they don't have the gift of language. They don't have that part of the brain, but they have other parts of their brain that are more developed than ours, that are actually smarter in certain ways than us. So
like
we
what way?
Well, I think
like
there's
they can distinguish smells better than we do. They can distinguish facial perceptions better than we do. So they're smarter in a lot of ways that way. Plus, you know, you ever see a well-trained dog? They're much smarter than a lot of people I know.
Right.
So
I'm not.
Well, don't you ever come home from a rough day at work or something bad happened in your personal life or something, and your dog can sense it? Now, I know that doesn't necessarily mean smarts, because that could just be they're responding.
Right.
To,
No.
It could be a chemical scent or something.
Dogs can smell cancer. They can tell
Yeah.
you when you have cancer. They're smarter than doctors.
There's like 6 dogs that can do that.
No, they can do that. You can.
One
train
of them
it.
is
One
Jimmy
dog
Dore's little
dialed
brownie.
911 once ever.
My dog does that. So if I piss him off, I go, "What was that?" I go, "What? Nothing. I thought I smelled cancer. Nothing." And then he walks away.
Do you guys think you love your dogs in a deeper way than maybe some people that you know, maybe even some family members?
Yes.
Like, I love my dog so much. I took her, I was telling you guys before we started, she had her teeth cleaned yesterday, so they had to, put her under. And really, from like 9 a.m.
Yeah,
till
they're
I got her
geniuses.
back.
They have to be put under to brush their teeth. They're geniuses.
And I said she wouldn't bite, but they didn't trust me. They wanted to do it anyway. But really, from like 9 a.m. to like 5 p.m., the whole day, I was like, it's 1 in 100,000 that don't wake up from the anesthesia. And I was freaking out all day long. And even now, it's a day later, and she's still a little loopy. But I was thinking how much I love this animal. Has given me so much comfort and joy, more than I love some people that are pretty close to me, I think.
They put me under to get a colonoscopy, okay? So you don't have to be smart to get a stick stuffed up your ass. But I think brush your teeth a little more complicated than sticking a wand up your ass. And yes, I love my dog. And it's amazing that, dogs also have emotions. I had a sister who tried to tell me that they don't have emotions, it's all instinct. So you don't have to, that's not true. Dogs certainly have emotions, right? And they're emotional beings. My dog could sense when I was depressed and needed my old dog.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And he would come over and comfort me when I was standing in a corner crying, not knowing what to do with my life. And he knew. And so there's a certain intelligence. I bet the thing is too, dogs never do anything to really piss me off. Like they never reveal a secret you told them. They never try to fuck your girlfriend. They never steal money from you. They never make fun of you or denigrate your good work. So
They never start illegal wars. How'd you not say that?
They never
your
do
big
that.
thing.
But so that's what makes you love them more. There's always just positive things coming from your dog. I love my dog certainly more than a lot of people.
Bring us home. Do you love your dog more than you love some people that are fairly
Everybody
close in your
told me, including dog owners, including one of my best friends who's a dog owner, and he said, when you have a child, as I now, my kid is almost 2, it will change how you feel about your dogs. You'll still love them. But he was wrong. It hasn't. In any way, it hasn't.
You're the second person I've heard say that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, don't get me wrong. If there's a fire and I can only choose one in a fake scenario, like the terrorism ticking time bomb thing, do you torture somebody? I'd save my daughter. But I love Bob. I love Bob almost as much as.
If there's a ticking time bomb and there's a dog and Sam Harris, I'm taking the dog.
Thank God Sam Harris is a deeply spiritual person. Otherwise, he would have a problem with that. Sidebar to all of this is a couple weeks ago, I had a dream that I lost my dog and that Ben Mankiewicz found my dog and brought her back to me. And I told Ben that. And he literally got white in the face. This is totally true. And you said to me that just the day before you found a stray dog on the street and brought it back to their owner. So there is something deep with dogs. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section right down below. Mm-hmm. So I saw this in the Daily Mail, and I know a lot of people get crazy when we do stories from the Daily Mail, but I think every now and again they sort of hit on something that's culturally interesting. They did a story on the rich kids of Instagram. Basically, these kids that are worth millions, sometimes multi-million dollars.
Is it a real thing?
What?
This is a real thing.
A
The
real
rich-
thing. That's what I couldn't quite tell. Is
Like,
it
oh,
something
is
that the Daily Mail called the rich kids of Instagram, or is there like a group that considers themselves the rich kids of
So
Instagram?
I think, from what I could tell, I think it's a little bit of both. Like they're referring to themselves
Yeah.
as the rich kids of Instagram. There was one of these groups in Iran too, and that one got shut down by the government pretty quick. So let's look at a bunch of images. These are the rich kids of Instagram, so titled by themselves and by the Daily Mail. And basically, it's these kids that are just super duper rich, and they're kids. They're in their teens, early 20s. This is not their money that they earned. This is money given to them by their parents, and they're in planes and in boats, and they're in exotic places, and they, look, wads of cash. Jimmy, do you have those kinds of $100 stacks, of $100 bills on your gold under your gold watch? And they're in these crazy hot tubs and pools. And I thought this story was interesting because we all see this. Every time you go on Instagram, you see someone's food looks better than yours. Every time they're at a beach, because of the filters, it looks better than the beach that you're at. And we're all making ourselves kind of crazy. But I think there's something particularly kind of gross about it being kids that didn't earn the money themselves.
Unearned confidence is repulsive.
Horribly repulsive.
It really is repulsive. It's okay to be wealthy. Like, you don't have to be ashamed of inheriting your parents' money. Little ashamed. But you don't have to be, but
Not enough to not take it.
How did you say unearned what?
unearned confidence.
Oh, so
Like,
that's why we don't like Luke Russert so much?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
That's right.
all of those people, yeah.
Like, just be appreciative, like, you know, so go on Instagram and do what everybody else does and show a picture of you with your friends. Instagram, there's too many photos of ourselves.
No kidding.
There's just
Yes.
that's a, like, we did a story earlier that'll be up on the Rubin Report about the legacy contacts on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and Jimmy made a great point. Like, yeah, you're dead. Nothing matters.
It just doesn't
And you
matter.
know, there was a way that we were able to inform people that you were dead before Facebook. I'm pretty sure we can go back to that, right? It gets out, you know.
Right.
So, and not everybody needs to know right away that I died. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people will be, if people find out in 9 months, oh, Ben didn't come on, he's dead? Oh, that's a shame. Let's have a drink to him. That would be nice. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's all I require. People have to go on with their lives. So it's just embarrassing to look at these kids. It's embarrassing, and they don't know it. They have George W. Bush's unearned confidence, and it's upsetting to look
So
at.
speaking of the unearned confidence, I got a quote here from one of the girls that does this stuff, that posts all this stuff. And I thought it goes exactly to what you're saying. She says, "I don't think I should be judged for posting a photo like eating caviar at Claridge's in London, while it's okay for someone to post a picture at McDonald's." So she's saying, well, I'm just doing the same shit. I just happen to have more money, so I'm doing it nicer.
No.
That's what's called being out of touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What she just said. She doesn't understand what the problem is
Yeah.
because she's out of touch.
Like, that person so badly needs therapy. Like, they might be able to, she could be a functioning normal person. Of course there's a difference.
Yeah.
But by the way, who cares about you with a picture at McDonald's, by the way?
But
Like,
right,
not necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, go to McDonald's, it's fine. Nobody needs a photo.
I'm pretty sure that the French fries at McDonald's are probably better than the French fries at Claridge's. I've never been to
Caviar.
Claridge's. I don't even know what it is.
Caviar at Claridge's. You know, the expression about that they used for George W. Bush, and I don't know who said it first, and maybe it's 100 years old or it's as old as baseball, but it's the best expression there is. You know, these kids were born on third base and think they hit a triple.
Yeah.
You can't put it any better than that.
I think it was, I said that or Ann Richards.
It was either you or Ann Richards.
Ann
No.
Richards?
I think
Yeah.
Ann Richards said that, and then she also said poor George Bush, born with a silver foot in his mouth.
Exactly.
No, right, well, they're both good, and that does sound like Ann Richards.
I miss that lady. I like
miss
that
her
lady.
too.
Do you agree with Ben's point that have we ever been more vain than we are now as a society? Because
No.
selfie sticks, all
This
this
is
shit.
definitely-
No,
Like,
I think we're just as vain. We just now have an outlet, probably, which is upsetting.
I think it actually makes us vainer. It makes us all constantly thinking about how we look and appear. And, you know, they've done studies. They figured out that people who spend, the more time you spend on social media, the more depressed you are. And the reason is that they posit, I agree with it, is that people don't post their failures. People only post when they're winning. Look, hey, look, I got invited to a comedy festival in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm doing a new movie. I'm on a set. Hey, look, I just won $1 million in Vegas. Hey, look, I'm doing it. So nobody ever goes, hey, I woke up today wanting to kill myself again. There's a picture.
You know, one of my best attributes, Jimmy, is that I'm a bad self-promoter. Like, and there's a quality to that I'm uncomfortable promoting
Yes.
myself,
Yeah.
right? And now on Twitter, but Twitter's, I don't really go on Facebook, I don't go on Instagram, it's just Twitter, and mostly what I do on Twitter is read, get information, articles people send. So I think I use Twitter for the right way. But that said, you're supposed to go on Twitter, you're supposed to promote yourself, you're supposed to be, and now I'm getting more comfortable with it, and it sucks. It's
Yeah.
too bad. It has taken away a quality of mine that now I'm a little more comfortable talking about how great I am. And I'm not that great. I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah, and I hear you on that. And I'm a big Twitterer. I'm all
Yeah.
over Twitter all the time, and I try to keep people entertained while also promoting
Right.
stuff. But also, there is some.
You're trying to
difference.
entertain on Twitter?
Once in a blue moon. Every now and
don't-
again, someone tweets me back and says
I
that
don't get
wasn't
that,
too bad.
but I'll look again.
But there is a difference for the way we have to use it, right? For the way we have to use this stuff
We
as
don't have
public.
to, but yeah.
But
Yes.
sort of, it's part of what we
Yeah.
do. If
You gotta.
if you were doing all your gigs and just wasn't on Facebook
That would be
or
stupid.
Twitter, it would be stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, you have to do it. And by the way, I just, now instead of me blocking people, I try to get them to block me.
Oh, nice.
So yesterday.
Can't imagine that's that hard.
Yesterday, oh, you believe? So yesterday I went out and there was a comedian in the Midwest, and he put a picture of him. He has a picture of himself with Victoria Jackson from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, oh yeah, and she's a big right
He made a big thing, but she's crazy,
Yeah.
right? So he made a thing about how she was. They didn't want her on the show, the 40-year anniversary, and she had to sit in a room by herself. Sounds like she got her own dressing room. That's what it sounds like to me. And he said it was because she was a conservative Christian. And then I kept like, no, it's because she's fucking batshit crazy and says a lot of hateful stuff about people. And I would link to an article, the 20 worst things that Victoria Jackson had ever said. And he would immediately delete it. And I would immediately put it back up. And he would immediately delete. And I started putting it on other posts on his page and putting it everywhere. Finally, he blocked me. I was like,
nice
okay.
job.
You need more to do with your daily activities. All right, what do you think's worse, the rich kids of Instagram or the poor average people of Twitter? Let us know in the comments right down below. All right, so I love doing these stories on food and how we eat in America, how we source our food, how we get our food, how we treat the animals, how we treat the farmers, all that. So Sweet Green in Schools is a new initiative, and what they basically did is they took sort of the average school lunch that they're getting in 9 different countries, including the United States, and they compared them. So we're going to roll through some images here. First up is the United States, and
So those are chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
And some frozen peas and a cookie and mashed potatoes, which actually look pretty good, and a fruit cocktail.
all right, so that doesn't look terrible, right? Just
No, it
like
looks-
that.
It
It's-
looks. It
no,
looks
that's
horrible.
Does that look
looks
pretty
ter- that
terrible?
looks
Well, there's
terrible.
no fiber on that dish, on that plate, except maybe a little bit in the peas, right? So that
Maybe.
fruit is all sugar syrup.
That's right. Sugar,
So
sugar.
that's a
That's
sugar-
dessert.
Yeah, so that's a dessert.
There's 2 desserts.
Yeah.
I was actually saying not that terrible just because there was something green, because you
Yeah.
see so many of these images they're not. Now
Well,
again,
as the Reagan administration said, told
ketchup
us,
was a vegetable.
There's a vegetable. right there.
ketchup is a vegetable.
yeah.
All right, so we're just going to keep rolling through these things.
Oh,
this
look
is
at
Greece.
Greece.
Look at Greece, a nice Greek salad.
That's nice.
Some orzo.
like baked chicken.
Yeah.
looks
Right.
like Greek yogurt. That
Some
looks pretty good.
spinach wrapped something.
This
Look
is
at
South
that.
Korea.
Oh, look
Those
at that.
greens and the vegetables.
Little chopped dog. What is
Brazil. There's less meat on the Brazil plate than I would have thought, but it looks like there's some meat. Finland.
Again, they got the sweet potatoes or whatever that is, and they got a green soup and the beets, and that looks horrible, but it's healthy.
Whatever that is there, that looks good. Italy, we knew Italy was going to be
Italy.
good. It looks like a
Oh.
nice fish.
Fish. They're giving the kids fish, and a
Fish.
salad and some grapes.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Spain, look at those shrimp.
999.
Some
Some
nice
gazpacho.
shrimp. Gazpacho, which is a
999.
cold tomato soup, by the way.
Yeah.
Ukraine, even the Ukraine, that looks, all right, there's something going on. We got
No
some
way
coleslaw
they have
or
that
something.
much food
Yeah,
in
the
Ukraine.
France,
Russians just
look
came
at
in.
France. Look at that piece of beef.
Wow. They don't get that big of a piece in a restaurant in France.
That looks horrible.
That piece of
wouldn't-
beef, it's scary
I
to
wouldn't
you?
eat that with a gun. I'd rather go to the Ukraine and give up my meal to a Russian soldier who's not there.
Yeah.
Ah.
All right, so those are the 9 that they looked at. Now, I know what a lot of you in the comments are going to say, but these aren't what average lunch. They're just picking what the supposed ingredients are. They probably look a lot
Oh, those
nicer
weren't
there.
real lunches in
Well,
those
I think
countries?
those are sort of the average lunches.
All right,
the
yeah.
average idea of it. They probably don't put them on plates that look
Well,
so
they put,
nice.
they put them on.
Right,
the-
they made them
school
look.
lunch
They
plates.
probably Instagrammed it and filtered it
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that stuff. But is it no surprise to you that the U.S. is the worst? I mean,
No, I'm not
unquestionably.
surprised at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we eat incredibly poorly, and we start eating incredibly poorly. You know, it's really hard now. I mean, I'm trying to feed my 2-year-old. You know what's funny about my kid's going to turn 2 next month, which means that right now, you know, we say 23 months, but she's 1. Like until you're 2, you're 1. And so I'm like, you know, I get mad at her. I'm like, Josie, you pick that up. And I'm like, she's 1. Who yells at a 1-year-old?
Yeah.
So,
Ben, you're
but that
40
said,
something. You
right.
still haven't
But you
figured out
can't
all that
get
stuff.
kids to, like, it's hard to get them to eat well, but you got to train it early that it's okay to eat broccoli, because I do not want my daughter eating like me. I don't.
I like that
Yeah.
you said train it. I like that you said that.
Well, we did a story before about
I'm
loving
very-
your dogs, and he's
Yeah.
training his child like a dog.
I'm very appreciative that you said
Train it.
train it.
Why can't we get food right in this country? Every time we do one of these
Because we have
stories,
no-
we're always the worst. We're
Because-
always the worst.
Because we have no food culture in America, right? So Americans were a bunch of pilgrims and shit that didn't know how to cook, and they had to ask the Indians how to make corn. And so that's what it is. You know, Italy, they have their own culture of food. You know, Japan, they have their own culture of food. America, our culture of food is fucking Cheetos and McDonald's, right? We don't really have a culture of food.
Right.
And I think that's why.
But as a melting pot nation, shouldn't we now?
You would
Now that
think.
we have so many immigrants from all over the world, what are they saying? White people are going to be the minority
we
and
learned
by the time we're done with this show.
Because the corporate structure here, and we learned how to make food incredibly tasty and incredibly cheap and incredibly accessible, and it turned out it was incredibly unhealthy.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop people from making that food because it was too profitable.
And they're still making that
Right,
food.
and it was driven by the desire for a profit margin, and they figured it out in the 1950s, and then have expanded and grown it, and we all fall victim to it. I mean, I drove home last night from a movie. I saw Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
I'm sorry.
Bragging.
Jesus. And I stopped at a KFC and got one of those chicken pot pies that I saw advertised, because literally, if you advertise something on television in front of me, I will go buy it.
You're a good consumer.
And
man.
it was delicious.
Oh, yeah?
It was so good.
But how did you feel after? Because for me, when I go to these places, I don't.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you did.
I
Yeah, you did. Really.
The chicken pot pie, it's somehow, because there's like, you know it's bad for you because it's like just this thick cream sauce, but you're like, oh, I just ate a carrot.
Yesterday, I went to this place called Beer Garden in Pasadena for their burger, and they put it on Hawaiian rolls.
Oh yeah, Hawaiian rolls.
Oh, they're so sweet. And,
they are.
they're so good. Anyway, I'll stop talking.
Yeah,
I hear
all right.
people are talking about this butter burger at Jack in the Box, which I haven't gotten yet.
Oh, I
Everybody's
haven't
talking
gotten it.
What's
yeah.
the butter burger?
It's what you think it is. It's a burger cooked in butter and then a bun that has butter on it, and it tastes fantastic.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to do butter, people, if I know one thing, do the grass-fed butter. I like Kerrygold. What do you think? Are you on the grass-fed butter? Are you using coconut oil? I love coconut oil. Let us know in the comments right down below, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'm going to start by asking my panelists a question here. Would you say you're more like a bird, a cat, or a dog?
Dog.
Dog. I also would have said dog. The reason I'm asking them this question is because sex stamps are the new thing that are happening at sex parties, and you put a stamp on you, which basically says what sort of sexual stuff you're into, what you're okay with people approaching you with, if you
What is
don't
happening,
mind
Dave?
the world. Yeah.
Sex parties?
Sex parties, that's
This
what
is
the
a
young
thing?
Ben, the young people are having sex parties. We've got more info for you.
What?
So yeah, here's what the sex stamps look like. So you can get a bird, you can get a dog, you can get a cat, and you can put them all over your body so that when you're at one of these sex parties, the people basically can decide what they're going to do if you need to be given consent before they do something, or if you don't want consent, or if you want a little rougher, or whatever it is. So here's some more info for you. The second base makeout party is part of a communicative, consensual movement helping to create more structure in the world of intimate, often sexual parties. Because of the slightly taboo nature of these parties and the range of interests they indulge in, consent is an evolving tool in ensuring safe fun and attracting new participants.
I am not interested in helping or offering my opinion on people who go to sex parties. Like, this is not a thing that is happening. I don't
All right,
buy
well,
it.
you've
I don't
answered-
believe it. 57 kids have gone to a sex party. They should be very careful, and people should be treated respectfully. But this is not a thing that's happening in America. It's never happened. It certainly didn't happen in the 1980s. I'll tell you that right
Boy,
now.
somebody never got invited to a sex party.
Have you gone to a sex party?
I don't think a sex party where people were just having sex.
Yes.
I've never.
No,
I've never
of course
been.
not, because there's never been one.
But Jimmy,
Never been one.
Jimmy, you were a comedian that started in the late '80s. There were sex parties.
First of all, I still think there's a chance I might be president, so I'm not answering that.
President of what?
Of anything.
Yeah.
I have been to quasi-sex parties, but what's with the stamp? So they put a tattoo
So
on.
so one of them, the bird, means you want to be left off. You know, you really want to be. Don't approach that person. They'll approach you. They all have different meanings, so that a dog you can be a little more
Let's
aggressive.
put it this way: 99.97% have never been invited to a sex party, have never heard of a sex party, and are mortified that their child.
All
would be
right,
invited
you
to a
old man
sex
who
party.
never got invited to a sex party. I've got a little more info on these parties. At this makeout party, those who say they are dogs, here we go for the specific info for you.
Oh, okay.
Indicate that they are open to being approached and touched. Cats must be asked before things are initiated. Birds are the most selective in choosing and do not welcome direct advances, but animals are free to evolve. So you could have two and people can figure out. Anyway,
If you have a
point is-
rhino, just stay away from that guy.
yeah, do not get involved
Not
in
anything.
that
Or
guy.
an orangutan, because he'll hurl shit at you.
Do you think this takes the fun out? Like, we live in such an I got it. We live in such like an over-regulated, like nobody wants to offend us.
Does it
Like,
take the fun out of a sex party?
yeah, you don't even believe sex parties exist.
This is the dumbest
I was
story
over.
in
I
the
was
history of
overly
the world.
regular at a sex party.
You know, I was
That's
going
a
to
little
invite you
different.
guys over for a sex party this weekend, and now
Oh,
I'm not
really?
inviting you anymore because you've mocked the sex. You want to come?
I would. I'm coming, of course.
All right, I give up. Sex parties, are you having them? Are you having group sex right now? Do you got a bird or a dog or a cat on you? Let us know in the comments right down below. And on that note, I want to thank Jimmy Dore, who will be at my sex party this weekend. You know what? I'm going to let you come. You can watch. How about that? Ben Mankiewicz, who will watch the sex party.
I'm going to
Thank
order
you
you
guys
to come.
for watching. Subscribe, and we'll see you
Mr.
next
Dore,
week.
we'll see you now.